Captain David Hayes stood at attention in the dusty reception hall of Earth's supposed colonial command center. The building looked old and worn down, with flickering lights and rusted metal panels. It was all fake, of course, just like everything else the aliens saw when they visited Earth. The heavy doors slid open with a grinding sound that Hayes had practiced making for months. Commissioner Voss walked in, his green scales gleaming under the poor lighting. Behind him came his security chief Click, whose insect-like eyes scanned the room for threats that would never come from this pathetic display. "Greetings, Commissioner," Hayes said, bowing slightly. He made sure his voice sounded nervous and unsure. "We are honored by your visit to our humble world." Voss barely looked at him. The reptilian alien was 8 feet tall and wore a uniform covered in medals. He had been the trade commissioner for Earth Sector for 20 years, and he treated humans like pets. "Where is your colonial director? I have important matters to discuss." "Director Maya Patel is waiting in the conference room, sir. She has prepared all the reports you requested." Hayes led them down a hallway that smelled of rust and old machinery. The walls were lined with outdated computer screens and broken equipment that had been carefully placed to look authentic. Every step was planned to make Earth appear weak and backward. In the conference room, Director Patel sat at a wobbly table. With stacks of paper reports, she wore a simple gray uniform that looked like it had seen better days. When Voss entered, she jumped up quickly and nearly knocked over her chair. "Commissioner Voss! What an unexpected pleasure," she said, fumbling with her papers. "I hope our quarterly reports met your standards." Voss settled into his chair, which groaned under his weight. "Your resource extraction numbers are falling again, Patel. The Federation expects better results from even the most primitive worlds." "Yes, sir, we understand. Our mining equipment is very old, and we lack the technical knowledge to improve it. Perhaps if the Federation could provide better tools or training." "The Federation does not waste advanced technology on worlds that cannot properly use it," Click interrupted, his mandibles clicking together. "Your species barely understands basic energy production." Hayes watched this performance with hidden satisfaction. 300 feet below them, Earth's real power hummed quietly. Fusion reactors that could power entire star systems ran at half capacity to avoid detection. The geothermal plants on the surface were just covers for the massive energy production happening underground. "Of course, we understand," Patel said meekly. "We are grateful for any guidance the Federation can provide. Our people work very hard, but we know we are not as advanced as the great species of the galaxy." Voss pulled out a scanning device and began recording the room. This was standard procedure, but Hayes knew the scanner would only detect the carefully placed fake equipment they wanted it to find. Every piece of real technology on Earth was shielded or hidden so deep that no Federation scanner could reach. Your population reports show another increase," Voss noted. 7 billion humans now. That is a lot of mouths to feed on a world with such poor resources. We manage as best we can, sir. Our people are simple, but hardy. We grow at food we can and try not to be a burden on the galaxy. What Voss did not know was that Earth's population was actually closer to 12 billion. The extra 5 billion lived in vast underground cities, working in factories and research centers that produced technology far beyond anything the Federation possessed. Every human on the surface was an actor playing their part in the greatest deception in galactic history. The inspection continued for 3 hours. Voss and Click examined the fake mining reports, toured the deliberately broken-down vehicle bay, and watched human workers pretend to struggle with simple repairs. Hayes accompanied them throughout, answering questions with the perfect mixture of ignorance and eagerness to please. "Your orbital stations report minimal activity," Click observed, checking his datapad. "Only basic communication and weather monitoring." "Yes, sir," Hayes replied. "We know better than to attempt anything beyond our abilities. We leave the complex. Space work to our betters in the Federation, above their heads, invisible to all Federation sensors." Dozens of massive orbital platforms bristled with weapons that could vaporize entire fleets. The communication satellites were actually the most advanced military installations humanity had ever built, powered by technology that made Federation weapons look like stone tools. As the inspection wound down, Voss seemed satisfied with Earth's continued helplessness. "Your world remains stable and obedient, which is what the Federation values most from primitive colonies." Continue your current production levels and submit your reports on schedule. Of course, Commissioner. To serve the Federation? After the aliens left, Hayes maintained his nervous act until their shuttle disappeared from view. Only then did his posture change. The bumbling colonial captain vanished, replaced by a decorated officer of the Earth Space Force. He walked to what appeared to be a broken maintenance panel and pressed his hand against it. The scanner read his genetic signature, and the wall slid away silently, revealing an elevator that descended far below the surface. The elevator dropped for nearly 2 minutes, before opening onto a command center that rivaled anything in the galaxy. Hundreds of technicians worked at stations that monitored every ship within 50 light-years of Earth. The walls displayed real-time tactical information from across the galaxy, fed by a spy network that had taken centuries to build. Dr. Marcus. Webb looked up from his station as Hayes approached. How did they seem today? Same as always, arrogant and blind. Boss never suspected a thing. Webb nodded and turned back to his screens. Good. Our agents report increased military activity in 3 sectors. The Federation is planning something. Big Hayes studied the tactical displays. Red markers showed Federation fleet movements, while green dots represented human assets scattered across the galaxy. Most of the galaxy saw Earth as a weak backward world barely worth conquering. They had no idea that human agents had been quietly gathering intelligence for decades, preparing for the day when the masquerade would end. Any word from the deep space monitoring stations? Asked all quiet. The Federation still believes our furthest outpost is the lunar mining base. They have no idea we have installations in 12 different star systems. Hayes smiled grimly. The lunar base was another fake, designed to look like humanity's greatest achievement in space. Meanwhile, Earth's real expansion had been hidden. So well that the Federation's own maps showed empty space where human colonies thrived. Keep monitoring their communications, Hayes ordered, and send word to all department heads. I want a full readiness report by tomorrow. As he returned to the surface, Hayes reflected on the long game humanity had been playing. For 300 years, Earth had pretended to be weak while secretly building the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. The day would come when the Federation would discover their mistake. But by then, it would be too late. Above ground, the sun was setting over what appeared to be a struggling human colony. Below ground, the most advanced civilization in the galaxy prepared for war. Ambassador Lisa Torres tried to look small and nervous as she entered the Great Council chamber of New Byzantium. The massive hall stretched upward for hundreds of feet, its crystal walls designed to make visitors feel tiny and unimportant. Representatives from across the galaxy filled floating platforms that moved in slow circles around the central speaking area. She wore the same simple gray uniform that all Earth representatives use when dealing with the Federation. Identification badge marked her as a Level 3 colonial representative, which meant she had no real authority. The other ambassadors barely noticed her as she found her assigned seat in the lowest section of the chamber. The Federation Council was in full session today, which meant something important was about to happen. Torres had been monitoring galactic communications for weeks, and all signs pointed to a major policy announcement. She activated a small recording device hidden in her sleeve, knowing that every word spoken here would be analyzed by Earth's intelligence services within hours. General Torres entered the chamber with heavy footsteps that echoed off the crystal walls. The massive bull-like alien stood 12 feet tall and weighed nearly a ton. His brown fur was streaked with gray, and his horns had been polished to a brilliant shine. Behind him walked his aide, a smaller bovine officer carrying a data pad that glowed with official seals. The general's species, the bovine hegemony, controlled the Federation's military forces. They were proud warriors who believed that strength was the only thing that mattered in the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved entire species without a second thought. Shh. Tension, all representatives, Torres bellowed, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. The Federation Council has reached a decision regarding the future administration of primitive worlds. Torres felt her heart rate increase, but she kept her expression blank and confused, like a colonial representative who did not understand the implications of what was happening. Shard Prince Quartz materialized on his platform, his crystalline body catching and reflecting the chamber's lights. The silicon-based alien appeared to be made of living glass, his thoughts transmitted through patterns of light that danced across his surface. The crystalline empire controlled most of the galaxy's technology and communication networks. Current system of loose oversight has proven insufficient, Quartz said, his voice ringing like struck crystal. Too many primitive worlds fail to meet their production quotas. Too many species resist proper guidance from their superiors. What is? Understood immediately where this was heading, but she maintained her act of confused innocence. Around her, representatives from other primitive worlds shifted nervously in their seats. General Taurus activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy's spiral arms. Red markers appeared on hundreds of worlds, including Earth. Effective. Immediately. All worlds classified as level 5 or lower will surrender their colonial status and submit to direct Federation rule. The chamber erupted in shocked voices from the affected representatives. Torres joined in, standing up and looking around frantically as if she did not understand what was happening. Inside, however, she was already calculating how quickly this information could reach Earth. "This is impossible," cried Ambassador Wren from the water world of Aquatica. "Our people have served faithfully for generations. We have met every quota, followed every regulation. Faithful service is no longer sufficient," Taurus replied coldly. "The galaxy faces new challenges that require stronger leadership." Primitive species cannot be trusted to govern themselves during these critical times. Shard Prince Quartz's crystalline form pulsed with patterns of light. The crystalline empire has developed new administrative protocols that will increase efficiency by 400%. Direct rule will benefit everyone. Torres raised her hand timidly, playing her role perfectly. "Excuse me, honored representatives, but what does this mean for Earth? We are a very small world with limited resources. Surely we do not require such important attention?" General Taurus looked down at her with something that might have been amusement. "Earth will comply like all the others. Your world may be insignificant, but the Federation requires complete unity." "How long do our worlds have to prepare for this transition?" asked another representative. 30 standard days, Quartz announced. "Any world that refuses to comply will be brought into compliance through military action." Hung unspoken in the air, but everyone understood what it meant. The Federation had pacified dozens of worlds over the centuries, turning them into sterile administrative zones run entirely by alien governors. Taurus stood again, her voice shaking. With what appeared to be fear, 30 days seems very short for such a major change. Earth's government will need time to explain this to our people. Perhaps a longer transition period would be possible. 30 days is generous, Taurus growled. Some council members argued, "For immediate implementation, be grateful for the time you have been given." As the session continued, Torres memorized every detail while maintaining her act. She asked the simple questions that a confused colonial representative would ask, complained about the difficulties of communication across Earth's large population, and generally played the role of someone who was overwhelmed by events beyond. Her understanding the reality was very different. Lisa Torres held the rank of Colonel in Earth Intelligence, and she had been preparing for this moment her entire career. Every word spoken in this chamber was being transmitted to a network of human agents who would ensure the information reached Earth within hours. When the session ended, Torres joined the crowd of worried representatives who gathered in small groups to discuss their world's fate. She listened carefully to their conversations, gathering intelligence about which species might be willing to resist. Federation rule. The aquatic delegate was particularly interesting. Its people controlled several water-rich worlds that the Federation needed for expansion. If they could be convinced to join a resistance movement, they would be valuable allies. Torres made her way back to her modest quarters in the diplomatic district of New Byzantium. The room was small and poorly furnished, exactly what the Federation expected for a representative from an unimportant world. She activated several small devices that would prevent electronic surveillance and opened a communication channel using technology that the Federation had never seen before. "Control. This is Ambassador Torres. Priority 1 message." The response came immediately. "Go ahead, Ambassador. The Federation has issued an ultimatum. All level 5 and lower worlds must surrender sovereignty within 30 standard days or face military pacification. Recommendation: Activate protocol, Lazarus, immediately. There was a brief pause before the reply came. Understood. Protocol, Lazarus is approved. Begin Phase 1 preparations immediately. Torres closed the channel and began packing her few belongings. Her official duties as ambassador were about to end, but her real work was just beginning. Within hours, she would be on a fast transport heading back to Earth, carrying the intelligence that would trigger humanity's greatest military mobilization. As she prepared to leave New Byzantium, Torres allowed herself a small smile. The Federation thought they were dealing with primitive worlds that would surrender without a fight. They had no idea that one of those primitive worlds had been preparing for this war for 3 centuries. Back on Earth, the message arrived. At the hidden command center beneath the Colonial Administration building, Dr. Webb received it personally and immediately contacted President Thomas Anderson, who the Federation knew only as a minor colonial administrator. Mr. President, the ultimatum has been delivered. 30 days to surrender or face pacification. Anderson, a former military commander who had been leading Earth's secret government for 15 years, did not hesitate. Signal all department. Heads activate protocol, Lazarus. It is time to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. Across Earth's hidden cities, millions of humans began preparing for the war they had always known would come. The masquerade was almost over. The Federation patrol ship Relentless approached Earth's moon with casual confidence. Captain Brix, a veteran bovine officer, had made this inspection run dozens of times over the past decade. Earth's lunar mining base was a joke, barely extracting enough metals to power a single city. Today's visit was just routine harassment to remind the humans of their place. Sensors show the usual pathetic activity, reported his tactical officer. A few dozen humans moving around their mining equipment. Some cargo shuttles preparing to return to Earth. Captain Brix nodded absently as he reviewed the reports. Earth consistently ranked as the most boring assignment in the Federation fleet. Nothing ever happened here except watching humans struggle. With basic technology, sir, the communications officer called out. We are receiving a transmission from the mining base. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a nervous-looking human in a worn mining suit. Federation vessel. This is Base Commander Roberts. We were not expecting an inspection today. Our facilities are not prepared for official visitors. Since when do we need permission to inspect Federation territory? Brix growled. Prepare for boarding, of course, sir. We will lower our shields and prepare Docking Bay 2 for your arrival. Brix cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Standard inspection. Check their production numbers. Make sure they are not hiding anything valuable, and get back to the ship. This should take an hour at most. What Captain Brix did not know was that Base Commander Roberts had just sent a coded signal that would change everything. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Rachel Kim received the message in the primary command center of the Sol Defense. Grid Federation inspection vessel approaching the fake mining base, she announced to her staff. All stations prepare for Protocol Lazarus activation. This is not a drill. The hidden command center was vast, carved from solid rock and lined with the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. Hundreds of officers worked at stations that monitored every ship within 100 light years of Earth. The walls displayed tactical information that would have amazed the Federation's best strategists. Admiral called Commander Torres, who had returned from New Byzantium just hours earlier. All deep space stations report ready. The fleet is in position. Admiral Kim nodded grimly. She had spent 30 years preparing for this moment, rising through the ranks of Earth's secret military while maintaining her cover as a civilian mining engineer. Today, the greatest deception in galactic history would finally end. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Bring the Sol Defense grid online. Throughout the solar system, invisible installations began to reveal themselves. What the Federation had cataloged as communication satellites suddenly showed their true nature as heavily armed weapons platforms. Asteroid mining operations that had seemed barely functional activated massive particle beam arrays. Even the space debris that cluttered Earth's orbit was revealed to be camouflaged defense drones. On the lunar surface, the fake mining base began to transform. Metal panels slid away to reveal weapon emplacements that had been hidden for decades. The worn-down buildings expanded as camouflage sections emerged from underground. Within minutes, the pathetic mining operation became a fortress that bristled. With enough firepower to destroy a fleet, Captain Brix watched in shock as his sensors registered impossible readings. What is happening? Those weapon signatures cannot be correct. Sir, we are being targeted by over 200 separate weapon systems. His tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. Energy readings are off the scale. The main screen activated without any input from Brix's crew. Admiral Kim appeared, wearing the dark blue uniform of the Earth Space Force. Behind her, Command Center buzzed with activity as officers coordinated the largest military operation in human history. Captain Brix of the Federation vessel Relentless, Kim said calmly. I am Admiral Rachel Kim of the Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to surrender your vessel immediately. Brix stared at the screen in confusion. This is impossible. Earth has no space force. You are a primitive world with no military capabilities. Captain, you have been deceived for 3 centuries. What you see around you is only a small part of Earth's true capabilities. Stand down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. This is some kind of trick, Brix snarled. The Federation has complete intelligence on this system. Earth cannot hide a military force. Kim smiled coldly. The Federation's intelligence is exactly what we wanted you to believe. Your ships have been studying our decoys while our real installations remained invisible. Every report you have filed, every sensor scan you have taken, has been carefully managed to show you exactly what we wanted you to see. On Earth's surface, the masquerade was ending everywhere at once. The geothermal plants that had powered the planet for decades revealed their true nature as the most advanced fusion reactors in the galaxy. The industrial centers that had seemed so primitive opened to disgorge fleets of spacecraft that made Federation vessels look like toys. Dr. Webb emerged from his underground laboratory to stand beside President Anderson as they watched the transformation. The Federation believes our most advanced technology is barely capable of interstellar communication, Webb said. They have no idea we have been studying their crashed ships and refugee scientists for generations. How much of their technology have we improved upon? Anderson asked. Nearly all of it. Human creativity combined with alien knowledge has produced weapons and defenses that exceed anything the Federation possesses. Their energy shields are based on technology that is 3 centuries old. Our newest ships could punch through their best defenses without slowing down. Above them, the sky filled with spacecraft as Earth's hidden fleet moved into position. The Terran Navy consisted of ships that had been built in secret facilities scattered across the solar system. Each vessel incorporated the best of human engineering and alien technology, creating a force that no Federation strategist had ever imagined. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, watching as his crew prepared for combat. The ship was a masterpiece of human engineering. Armed with weapons that could destroy entire planets and defended by shields that could absorb the energy output of a star. Sir, we are receiving reports from all sector commands, his communications officer announced. The masquerade is ending across the galaxy. Our sleeper agents are activating in 12 different systems. Hayes nodded with satisfaction. Earth's spy network had taken centuries to build, but it was finally paying off. Human agents who had lived their entire lives pretending to be loyal Federation citizens were simultaneously sabotaging military installations, communication networks, and supply lines across the galaxy. Back on the lunar surface, Captain Brix was still struggling to understand what was happening. Sensors showed weapon signatures that should not exist, energy readings that exceeded anything in Federation databases, and ship designs that were completely unknown. Admiral Kim, he said slowly, if Earth possesses this level of technology, why have you pretended to be primitive for so long? Because, Captain, the Federation only respects strength when it comes from expected sources. If we had revealed our capabilities gradually, you would have destroyed us before we were ready. By appearing weak, we were able to prepare for this moment without interference. What do you want from the Federation? Kim's expression hardened. We want you to leave. Earth formally rejects the Federation's ultimatum. We will not surrender our sovereignty, and we will not submit to direct rule. Any attempt to force compliance will be met with the full strength of the Earth Defense Force. Brix looked around. His bridge and his terrified crew. Every screen showed targeting solutions from weapons that could vaporize his ship in seconds. The mining base that had seemed so harmless now looked like the most dangerous military installation he had ever seen. "I need to report this to Federation Command," he said weakly. "Of course, tell them exactly what you have seen here. Tell them that Earth declines their generous offer of pacification. Tell them that if they want to conquer our world, they are welcome to try." The transmission ended, leaving Brix staring at a blank screen. Around him, the solar system continued to transform. As humanity's true strength revealed itself, hidden installations activated throughout the asteroid belt, cloaked ships decloaked to reveal a fleet that numbered in the thousands, and defense grids that had been invisible for centuries began broadcasting their presence to the galaxy. Within hours, the news would reach every corner of the Federation. The primitive world of Earth, the backward colony that had barely managed to feed itself, had revealed itself as the most advanced military power the galaxy had ever seen. The masquerade was over. The war was about to begin. The Federation's response came faster than even Earth's intelligence services had predicted. Within 72 hours of Captain Brix's report, the largest military fleet in galactic history was moving toward the Sol system. General Taurus personally commanded the operation from his flagship Dominator, a massive battleship that had never been defeated in combat. "Impossible," he muttered as he studied the tactical reports. "Earth cannot have hidden this level of technology for 3 centuries. Our intelligence services would have detected it." Shard Prince Quartz materialized beside him, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. "The humans have made fools of us all. Every report, every inspection, every interaction has been a carefully planned deception. They have been laughing at us while we treated them like children." The combined fleet consisted of ships from 12 different species, all united under Federation command. The bovine hegemony provided the heavy assault vessels, massive ships designed to break through the strongest defenses. The Crystalline Empire contributed energy weapon platforms that could melt entire continents. Smaller species added fast attack, craft and support vessels, reported Commander Horn, Taurus's chief tactical officer. "Our scouts report that the Sol system is heavily fortified. The humans have weapon platforms hidden throughout the asteroid belt and defense stations, orbiting every major planet." "How many ships does Earth have?" Taurus demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors detect at least 3,000 vessels, but many more could be hidden or cloaked. Their technology appears to be significantly more advanced than our intelligence indicated." Study the holographic display that showed the Federation fleet. 8,000 ships, the combined might of the galaxy's most powerful military alliance. Surely no single world could stand against such a force, no matter how advanced their technology in the Sol system. Admiral Kim watched the approaching fleet from her command center. The massive Federation armada was impressive, but Earth had been preparing for this exact scenario for centuries. Every human ship captain had trained for this battle. Every defense platform had been designed to face overwhelming odds. "Admiral," reported Captain Hayes from the bridge of the Indomitable, "all fleet units are in position. The enemy will reach the outer system in 6 hours." "Very good, Captain. Execute Plan Alpha. Let them see what they are really facing." The first surprise came when the Federation fleet reached the edge of the solar system. At what their sensors had cataloged as scattered asteroids and space debris suddenly revealed themselves as automated defense platforms. Thousands of hidden weapons opened fire simultaneously, creating a wall of energy that no ship could penetrate. "Evasive action," Taurus bellowed as his flagship shook under the impact of weapons that should not exist. Around him, Federation ships exploded as they encountered firepower that exceeded their wildest projections. The second surprise was the mines. Earth had spent decades seeding the outer system with cloaked, explosive devices that could destroy ships 10 times their size. As the Federation fleet tried to advance, explosions blossomed throughout their formation, tearing apart vessels that had seemed invincible. Shard Prince Quartz coordinated the Crystalline Empire's response, his light patterns flashing with tactical commands. "Concentrate fire on the largest defense platforms. Break through their outer perimeter and push toward Earth." The Federation fleet regrouped and pressed forward, accepting heavy losses in exchange for progress toward their target. Their superior numbers began to tell as human defense platforms were overwhelmed and destroyed. For a moment, it seemed like the attack might succeed. Then Earth's real fleet arrived. The Terran Navy emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system, their ships appearing from behind planets, asteroids, and even the sun itself.
Admiral.
Kim had positioned her forces perfectly, allowing the Federation to commit to their attack before revealing the true scope of Earth's military power. Captain Hayes led the counterattack from the Indomitable, his massive battleship cutting through Federation lines like a sword through paper. The human vessel was armed with weapons that made Federation technology look primitive, and its shields could absorb punishment that would destroy any alien ship. Target their command vessel, Hayes ordered. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth. The Indomitable's main weapons fired, sending beams of pure energy across space to strike General Taurus's flagship. The Dominator's shields, the most advanced defensive technology the Federation possessed, lasted less than 3 seconds before collapsing completely. Impossible, Taurus whispered, as his ship's hull began to buckle under the assault. No weapon should be able to penetrate our shields so easily. Around the solar system, the battle raged with an intensity that had never been seen before. Federation ships that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves outmatched by human vessels that moved faster, hit harder, and survived longer than anything they had ever faced. The turning point came when Earth revealed its secret weapon. The research station hidden in the sun's corona activated, emerging from the star's surface like a metal flower blooming in the flames. The solar energy collector had been building power for 50 years, and now it unleashed that stored energy. In a single, devastating attack, the beam of concentrated solar energy swept across the Federation fleet, destroying hundreds of ships in seconds. Even the largest battleships were reduced to glowing debris as the power of a star itself was turned against them. "Retreat," Taurus ordered, his voice breaking with shock and fear. "All ships withdraw to the outer system immediately." Was not finished. As the Federation fleet tried to escape, human ships pursued them, their advanced engines allowing them to overtake vessels that had seemed impossibly fast. The retreat became a rout as Federation ships were hunted down and destroyed throughout the solar system. Across the galaxy, Earth's sleeper agents activated simultaneously. Human spies who had lived their entire lives in Federation territory revealed themselves as they sabotaged military bases, communication networks, and supply lines. The Federation's war machine, which had seemed unstoppable, began to fall apart. From within, on the water world of Aquatica, Agent Maria Santos emerged from her cover as a marine biologist to destroy the Federation's main communication relay. On the industrial world of Forge Prime, Agent Robert Chen used his position as a factory supervisor to sabotage the production lines that built Federation weapons. The coordinated attacks were devastating. Within hours, the Federation lost contact with half of their military installations. Supply ships carrying ammunition and fuel were destroyed or captured. Even the great shipyards that built Federation vessels were crippled by sabotage. Shardprints. Courts watched as Empire's communication network collapse in real time. How did they do this? How did they place agents in every major installation without our knowledge? The answer was centuries of patient planning. Earth had been sending volunteers to live deep undercover lives throughout the galaxy, accepting any job that would give them access to Federation infrastructure. They had married alien spouses, raised alien children, and lived as loyal Federation citizens while secretly preparing for this moment. Back in the Sol system, the Federation fleet was in full retreat. General Taurus's flagship, badly damaged, tried to regroup his forces at the edge of the system. Of the 8,000 ships that had begun the attack, less than half remained operational. "Admiral Kim," he transmitted, his voice heavy with defeat. "I request a ceasefire to negotiate terms." Kim appeared on his main screen, her expression cold and determined. "The only terms are complete withdrawal from the Sol system and recognition of Earth's independence. Any attempt to return will result in the total destruction of your fleet." "You cannot seriously believe that one world can stand against the entire Federation," Taurus protested. "General, you have just witnessed the destruction. of the largest military force in galactic history by a single human fleet? Your ships are burning, your communication networks are down, and your supply lines are cut. How much more proof do you need? As if to emphasize her point, long-range sensors detected Earth's deep space fleet moving toward Federation territory. Ships that had been hidden in distant star systems for decades were now advancing on Federation worlds, their crews eager to continue the offensive. The battle for the Sol system was over. Earth had won the first major victory in what would become known as the Eldactic Liberation War. The Federation's reputation for invincibility was shattered, and oppressed species throughout the galaxy began to dream of freedom. But the war was far from over. The Federation still controlled thousands of worlds and commanded vast resources. The real test would come when Earth took the fight to the enemy's home territory. Admiral Kim turned to her staff as the last Federation ships disappeared. From her sensors, signal all fleet commands. Phase 2 begins now. We take the fight to them. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the Federation capital world of New Byzantium had never looked more vulnerable. The great crystal towers that had once symbolized galactic unity now stood dark and lifeless, their communication networks severed by continuous human sabotage. In the Grand Council chamber, where Earth had once received its ultimatum, emergency sessions ran day and night as the Federation leadership struggled to understand how their empire was falling apart. President Thomas Anderson stood on the bridge of the Earth's flagship Liberation, watching as the combined human fleet approached New Byzantium. The massive vessel had been built in the hidden shipyards of Jupiter, its hull gleaming with armor that could withstand the energy output of a star. Around it, over 5,000 Earth ships moved in perfect formation, their crews ready for the final battle of the war. "Sir," reported Admiral Kim from her command station, "we are receiving surrender signals from 12 different species. The Aquatic Alliance, the Silicon Confederacy, and the Methane Collective have all agreed to join our coalition." Anderson nodded grimly. The war had spread far beyond what anyone had expected. Earth's victory at Sol had inspired dozens of oppressed species to rebel against Federation rule. What had begun as an attempt to conquer a single world had become a galaxy-wide revolution. "What about the core Federation species?" Anderson asked. "The bovine hegemony is still fighting, but their fleet is down to less than 2,000 ships. The Crystalline Empire has retreated to their homeworlds and refuses to engage our forces. Most of their subject species have declared independence." The depths of New Byzantium, General Taurus paced through the war room like a caged animal. The great bull-like warrior had lost more battles in 6 months than the Federation had lost in 6 centuries. His horn tips had been broken in the Battle of Sol, and deep scars marked his hide from a dozen desperate engagements. "How many ships do we have left?" he demanded of his aide. 1,500 operational vessels, sir. Another 800 are undergoing repairs, but most will never be combat-ready again. Taurus slammed his fist against the tactical display, cracking the crystal surface. 1,500 ships against 5,000 human vessels with superior technology. We cannot win this fight. Shard Prince Quartz materialized in the center of the room, his crystalline form flickering with patterns of defeat and despair. Crystalline Empire formally withdraws from military cooperation with the Federation. Our homeworlds will not be sacrificed in a hopeless war. You are abandoning the Alliance. Taurus roared. The Alliance abandoned us when it started a war. We could not win. The humans have proven they are the superior military power. Continuing to fight will only result in the destruction of our civilization. As the Crystalline Empire withdrew, other Federation species began to follow suit. The great alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was dissolving before Taurus's eyes. Species that had been loyal subjects for centuries were declaring independence or actively joining Earth's coalition. On the approaching human flagship, President Anderson received reports from across the galaxy. The Federation's military had collapsed, their communication networks were down, and their supply lines had been cut. More importantly, the subject species that had provided the Federation with its workforce and resources were rebelling en masse. "Mr. President," Admiral Kim reported, "we are receiving a transmission from New Byzantium." General Torres wants to discuss surrender terms. Anderson considered the request. Earth had spent centuries preparing for this war, but they had always hoped it would end with negotiation rather than complete destruction. Put him through. The main screen activated to show General Torres in his damaged war room. The great warrior looked older than his years, his proud bearing broken by months of devastating defeats. Behind him, the once mighty Federation command center was filled with smoking equipment and empty stations. President Anderson Torres said slowly, "I am authorized to negotiate the surrender of Federation forces." "What are your terms, General?" "We ask for mercy for our remaining military personnel and protection for civilian populations. In exchange, Federation will formally recognize Earth's independence and the independence of all species that have joined your coalition." Anderson exchanged glances with Admiral Kim before responding. "General, Earth has no interest in conquering the galaxy or establishing our own empire. We fought this war to secure our freedom and the freedom of any species that chose to join us. Then what do you want? We want a new galactic government based on voluntary cooperation rather than conquest. A confederation of free worlds where no species rules over another." Torres stared at the screen in confusion. In his experience, the winner of a war always demanded tribute and territory from the loser. The idea of a voluntary confederation was completely alien to his understanding of galactic politics. You would give up the chance to rule the galaxy? General, Earth never wanted to rule the galaxy. We just wanted to be left alone to govern ourselves. This war happened because the Federation could not accept that some species prefer independence to subjugation. The formal surrender ceremony took place in the Great Council Chamber of New Byzantium. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to witness the end of the Federation and the birth of a new galactic order. President Anderson, no longer hiding his true identity, stood at the center podium where Federation leaders had once pronounced judgment on lesser species. "Today marks the end of an era," he announced to the assembled delegates. "The Federation of Superior Species is dissolved. In its place, we establish the Galactic Confederation of Free Worlds, where every species has an equal voice and every world controls its own destiny." The ceremony was attended by former Federation subjects who had never dreamed they would see this day. The Aquatic Alliance sent their greatest philosophers, beings who had preserved their wisdom through centuries of oppression. The cold, the Silicon Confederacy, contributed their master engineers. Eager to share technology freely rather than under threat of conquest, Dr. Webb, now serving as Earth's Minister of Interspecies Relations, presented the new Confederation's charter. This document establishes principles that the old Federation never understood. No species is superior to another. No world has the right to rule another. Technology and knowledge belong to all thinking beings, not just those strong enough to take them by force. General Torres approached the podium to formally surrender Federation military assets. The great warrior had been broken by the war, but he retained enough dignity to perform his final duty with honor. "I surrender the remaining forces of the Federation military to the Galactic Confederation," he said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. "May this new government prove wiser than the one it replaces." President Anderson accepted the surrender with grace. "General, you are a warrior who served his people faithfully. The Confederation offers citizenship to all former Federation species, including your own. So there will be no punishment for those who fought in uniform." The transition was not without challenges. Some Federation hardliners continued to resist, operating from hidden bases in unexplored regions of the galaxy. A few species that had benefited from Federation rule struggled to adapt to equality with their former subjects. But the momentum of change was unstoppable. Earth's greatest contribution to the new order was not military might, but the example of what a free society could accomplish. Human engineers worked alongside alien scientists to develop technologies that benefited everyone. Human diplomats helped resolve conflicts between species that had been enemies for millennia. Admiral Kim, now serving as the Confederation's military commander, oversaw the transformation of the old Federation fleet into a peacekeeping force. Ships that had once been instruments of oppression were converted to exploration vessels and disaster relief platforms. "The galaxy is large enough for everyone," she announced at the military reorganization ceremony. "Our new mission is not conquest, but protection." We defend the freedom of all species to chart their own course among the stars. Captain Hayes commanded one of the new exploration fleets, leading mixed crews of humans and aliens into the unexplored regions beyond Federation. Space. His ship, the New Horizon, had been designed for discovery rather than destruction. Its weapons replaced with scientific instruments and diplomatic facilities. The transformation of the galaxy took years, but the results exceeded everyone's expectations. Trade flourished between species that had been kept artificially separate by Federation policies. Scientific advances accelerated as researchers shared knowledge freely. Art and culture bloomed as different species learned from each other. On Earth, the hidden cities finally opened to the surface. Billions of humans who had lived their entire lives underground emerged to see the sky and feel natural sunlight. The Great Deception was over. President Anderson, now elected as the first Secretary General of the Galactic Confederation, reflected on the transformation during the 5th anniversary celebration. Representatives from over 3,000 worlds had gathered on New Byzantium, which had been renamed Unity to symbolize the new order. 5 years ago, the galaxy was ruled by fear, he told the assembled delegates. Strong species dominated weak ones, and progress came only through conquest. Today, we have proven that cooperation is stronger than domination, and that freedom is more powerful than oppression. Dr. Webb, watching from the audience, smiled as he remembered the long years of preparation and deception. Earth had acted powerless to protect itself from a galaxy that only respected strength. But in the end, humanity's greatest strength had been the patience to wait for the right moment to reveal the truth. The masquerade was over. The galaxy was free. And Earth had finally found its place among the stars, not as a conqueror, but as a liberator who had shown the universe a better way to live.